Hearing about people on Twitter completely blowing a situation out of proportion and making it 10 times worse than it originally was, isn't that surprising? Let's be honest, that is a normal day in the life of social media. I wish that I didn't have to read so many bafflingly dumb things every day. It would make life so much simpler, everything so much easier. Yet the wheel doesn't stop turning and people try to be mad at every little thing that happens online, and that doesn't stop either. And that is exactly what's happened now with a new light novel series, because Twitter mobs decided to act outraged and act like they were fighting a good fight and completely ended up blowing a situation out of proportion simply because they didn't understand what they were getting mad about. So this is a Bounding into Comics article. Critics complain about representation in slave harem in the Labyrinth of the Otherworld. Fix cover by turning slave character black. I read this headline. I didn't believe it. I was like, I have to go to social media. I have to go to Twitter and see this instantly. I hadn't heard about this situation. This is so terrible by these people. It is hilarious to have to read because they are getting owned online because of their fake woke outrage. So in one of the most baffling instances of critical race and social justice theory brain poisoning to date, critics have become outraged after finding that a slave character in the light novel series Slave Harem in the Labyrinth of the Otherworld was not dark-skinned, with some even going so far as to edit a cover featuring the character to depict her as black. Imagine if a writer or an artist went into this series going, we are gonna make the slave character dark-skinned. Imagine the outrage. Imagine how mad these people would be. So it says a light novel series, Slave Harem in the Labyrinth of the Otherworld, follows high school student Mikio Kaga, I hope that I'm saying that name right, who after spending most of his life as a directionless internet recluse finds himself transported to a fantasy world wherein he discovers that he is privy to a number of bonus abilities that are unavailable to the world's inhabitants. Upon discovering that he cannot return to his normal life, he vows to use his newly discovered abilities to carve out a name for himself in the virtual world, namely by engaging in the setting's slave trade, one which affords the enslaved a number of protection not seen in such real-world situations, such as contractually requiring masters to treat their slaves fairly or the slaves to consent to being used, inappropriately, in order to build himself an otherworld harem. I hadn't heard about this light novel series. To me, it sounds kind of interesting. Would I read it? I don't necessarily know, but it doesn't sound like it's a bad plot. It doesn't sound like it's the worst plot ever, especially because it says that, slaves are given protections. So it's not just like an outright slave story. It actually has a little bit of depth to it, a little bit of meaning to it. I'd get canceled for saying that. Oh my gosh, who would dare read a series like this? But continuing on April 15th, Twitter manga news account Manga Mogura shared a cover to Katakoa's upcoming re-release of this series' 7th volume, which featured an image of the main character's 16-year-old dwarf slave, Sherry. This is actually pretty decent art. It's bright, it's colorful, it's cheery. I really like her purple hair and her hairstyle. I also think that her outfit matches pretty well to her hair. I like the design of the outfit in general, and then the color around the text also looks amazing. The blues and the yellows and pinks, it just looks very bright and kind of vibrant. It's just a really nice artwork in general. But it says, however, due to Twitter's infamous cropping algorithm, the platform's preview of the image centered on Sherry's body, stocking-covered stomach, and thighs rather than her face, which led a number of users to assume that the character was black. You literally can't make anyone happy on social media. They don't even open the image, they look at half the image, they open it, and then they become outraged. They are outraged about everything. But it says, upon viewing the full image and discovering the young dwarf girl was not black, a number of Twitter users became outraged at the fact that the series did not provide adequate representation. Now, they're mad that it doesn't have representation. They're mad that this series doesn't feature the black character like they thought it did. Now they are outraged and furious about not having enough representation in this. I mean, honestly, it's just so pathetic. There are people here trying to get this canceled because they're mad, because they're outraged at an art, because they don't like the art, because they're saying now there's not enough representation. They are always finding something to be mad about. If it's not one thing, it's another thing. I mean, you cannot create anything nowadays that's not going to outrage at least one person, because someone is always getting offended at content on the internet. Let's also keep in mind that most anime characters don't have differentiating racial features. You have characters that are from European descent, Asian descent, or Middle Eastern descent, and they're all designed the same besides things like hair color differences or eye color differences in clothing. Besides that, they're all generally designed the same, and that's just the way that anime is. They are literally using a character to race bait so that people will attack the artists, attack the writers, and hopefully get this manga canceled. It's absolutely disgusting. You don't have to like this manga. You don't have to like a specific show or movie or a book, but let other people enjoy it, because if you don't like it, that's okay, but other people might. You should not be trying to cancel something because you don't like it. Now, I'm going to read some of the replies in just a minute, but let's get this situation straight first. They saw this cropped image and opened it thinking that this character was black, and then they found out that she wasn't. They got super, super angry and started calling the artists and writers racist. Like, how dare they not have enough representation? But it doesn't sound like they knew that this character was a slave character. They thought by editing the photo they were speaking out for representation, yet they ended up turning a slave black. Just imagine if someone wrote a story and specifically made the slave character black. People on social media would be furious, livid, outraged, all of it. They would be so angry. So first, they got mad that the character wasn't black and there wasn't enough representation in their eyes. No matter what people do, there's always going to be someone that's mad with your choice, and that's the problem. How many of these people will read this or care about this? I bet you that these people are just mad because they're cooped up in their houses, scrolling down their social justice, social media echo chambers, and saw one person get mad at it, and now they're acting mad too. I doubt that they actually care about this situation. They're just mad because they want something to be mad at. But let's read some of the responses, because some of these responses are truly golden. Someone said, "Wow, what a nice piece of art. Hopefully it shows off some good representation." Like it was cut off. Like they're shocked, they're appalled, they're angry. It says the amount of us opening this picture with excitement and then being like, what the fuck? Scrolling down, it says, "This crop is sickening. I feel ill. I'm so upset." I don't know how you would feel ill because you're so upset at a cover of something that was posted on social media. That doesn't make sense to me, but they put a ton of crying faces, so they were acting like they actually were upset and like they cared. You can see that there are people who are so upset by this. Someone said, "This is a terrible edit, but everything is right now in the world. Amen." And they actually did, like it shows, turn the character darker skinned instead of lighter skinned. Now, the artist who actually did that would later claim that their only intent behind this edit was to see what it would look like if her top and bottom half matched. Their original caption doesn't sound like that. Their original caption makes it sound like they cared, like this was important to them. But it says, "That wasn't my intention. I just wanted to see what it would look like if her top and bottom half matched, which is why there's two versions." These people don't even care about the contents of this manga. All they care about is using it as something to be mad at. I mean, none of them are talking about the actual story itself. How they only care about how this doesn't have enough representation in their opinions. It's also important to point out that not only is this a generic anime design, but she's not even human like the article says. She is a dwarf, a different race. There's just so much about this outrage that doesn't make sense. But then again, when does Twitter outrage ever make sense? Now, the account who originally posted this image actually caught a lot of criticism. They were being attacked quite a lot on social media. A lot of people were saying, like, how dare you post this? This isn't okay. Why are you promoting this? And all they said was, all these comments are very confusing to me. And it's true. You would think that people wouldn't be so outraged over a cover art, yet they are. These people are always mad at something. They're always finding something to be offended by. They're always finding something to cancel because they want so many different things canceled. It's absolutely disgusting that they're attacking the person simply posting this image, just for posting it. Never mind the way that they're treating the artist who created this, writers of this series. They're just trying to find something to be mad about. But let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video and found it important and informative, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.